Hey, Japan, it has been just over a month since a powerful earthquake measuring 6.9 devastated that city. Seismic experts are finding that Kobe has many similarities with our Bay Area. And there are lessons we can bring back which may prevent the same level of destruction from happening here. Tonight, the second segment of Vic Lee's special report, The Kobe Quake Connection.
Kobe, like our East Bay cities, is surrounded on one side by mountains, on the other by a port. Kobe, like the Bay Area, is an urban mix of homes and commercial buildings, many made of vulnerable reinforced concrete. The Hanshin Expressway connects Kobe with Osaka, just as the Bay Bridge links Oakland to San Francisco. Both failed during earthquakes. The geology is similar. Much of Kobe in the Bay Area is man-made, built from landfills, subject to liquefaction. Most dominant, like Kobe, earthquake faults run through densely populated cities of the Bay Area.
It just comes on and on and on like this. There's so much of it. Oh, my gosh.
Marty Zarnecki has never seen destruction like this. He is a seismic engineer from the Bay Area consulting firm URS.
I believe that if we would have an earthquake like this one in the Bay Area, we would see similar results in terms of loss of life, number of buildings damaged, disruption of the infrastructure.
The Hanshin Freeway that toppled, Zarnecki says, reminds him of what happened to our Cypress structure. Both were designed without enough elasticity to withstand the shaking of a big quake. But many California freeways, Zarnecki says, are undergoing seismic upgrades.
So I think that the freeways in California are perhaps somewhat better than what we've seen here, mainly because this retrofit program has been going on for more than 20 years now.
The lesson from Kobe, Zarnecki says, is to speed up those retrofit programs. 1/3 of the dwellings in Kobe collapsed or were seriously damaged. Most of the buildings that failed were made of reinforced concrete, built before 1981 when Japan strengthened its seismic codes. Many, like this building, simply pancaked in the middle.
We have a lot of buildings in California, in the Bay Area, that are been designed in the same, by basically the same kinds of design rules. And it wouldn't be unusual to expect collapses of this sort if this earthquake were to occur either on the Hayward Fault or on the San Andreas Fault.
Kobe, Zarnecki says, can be a laboratory for experts to improve retrofit design to strengthen existing concrete buildings.
It's very unusual to see, in my experience, to see this kind of collapse from a steel frame structure normally.
Zarnecki was surprised the steel frame buildings collapsed because they perform the best in earthquakes. The question is whether big quakes can cause their welded joints to crack.
It's very difficult to detect. You have to almost go in and do a surgical kind of inspection on the building to determine whether or not you even have the problem to begin with.
Some answers perhaps from a new survey by a Kobe construction firm. Of 223 buildings inspected, 16% of the most modern steel frame structures were so badly torn up inside they would have to be demolished. If that's true, perhaps steel frame buildings need to be re-examined. Liquefaction occurred in parts of Kobe built on reclaimed land. The port was hardest hit.
The quake split this port in two by as much as 2 feet in some areas. The scary thing is that this port is man-made, built on fill, just like the Port of Oakland, Foster City, and the marina.
Liquefaction separated the earth below buildings, breaking utility lines. The good news, most modern buildings on liquefied land did not collapse.
Yeah. Here you can see a pile. That's a pile.
That's because they are supported by deep piles drilled far into the earth.
Many of the high-rise buildings in downtown San Francisco are built using a very similar foundation system. So we could expect good performance like this for the building itself, even though the sidewalks may settle and may have broken pipes.
By far, the worst destruction happened here in Nagata Ward.
Yeah, this is real bad.
Homes collapsed like dominoes, then fire reduced them to ashes. Picture San Francisco's Richmond district flattened. That would be equal to the destruction here. These homes were vulnerable. They were old and diseased with dry rot. Heavy tile roofs came tumbling down on flimsy walls made of dried mud framed with bamboo.
Fortunately, in California, most of our homes all of our homes really don't feature that kind of construction. I think our homes are better off than the ones here in Japan, which collapsed.
The biggest lesson from Kobe is that we may have to redefine our seismic standards to strengthen building codes in areas closest to fault lines. One thing is certain, Kobe should be a wake-up call for those who think this cannot happen in the Bay Area.
Well, the Kobe quake is the most expensive disaster in history. $100 billion, that's with a B, according to one estimate to rebuild Kobe. And if you want to do something to help the quake victims, tomorrow night, you'll see, on our segment tomorrow night, you'll see what a powerful quake does to a city's economy. But tomorrow night, if you want to help here in the Bay Area, some of the quake victims, there will be a benefit at the San Francisco Palace of Fine Arts Theater, and it's a benefit featuring the Berkeley Symphony, so please attend and please give.
People who look at this say that the Japanese have spent billions of dollars on what amounts to scientific prestidigitation, that is trying to guess when these things would occur,
predict an earthquake,
and less on safety, on emergency issues, response and so on. Why?
Well, some of the seismic experts I talked to, is very interesting question, Pete, feel that the government must have known just how flimsy the homes were built and are built in Japan. And it would cost incredible amounts of money to retrofit them or simply to level them and build new homes. And so the only thing possibly they could do is to develop technology to predict when the big one comes so they can evacuate them before, and that would be the only way to save lives. And that's one theory, it's not true.
And yet they lost over 5,000 here.
That's correct.
What about the sanitation level right now? Because you've talked about the fact that the water is still not completely running.
Two of the incineration plants in Kobe were leveled. And so you can see the garbage piling up and the debris, and you can smell it, too, in some areas of the city, and that's the problem. They're trying to clear it up, but it may become a health hazard 1 month later now. 1 month later.
All right.
I look forward to your report tomorrow night. Thank you, Vic.
Up next, Zach with the forecast.